After my husband left, I came back to the house and just sat on the couch, sitting up, looking straight forward, not really focused on anything. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to feel. I was going to be sleeping alone for the first time in many years, outside of a few trips that I'd taken. We didn't spend time apart. We lived together day in, day out. And now the home felt different. It was lonely. It was uncomfortable, and it was juxtaposed to this idea that he was somewhere with someone else, while I was alone. And I think the worst part about that situation, outside of the fact that my spouse and longtime partner had left me in I would say, an emotionally and mentally vulnerable state, it was that there was this promise of reconciliation and repair that paralyzed me, because that meant I couldn't share what had happened to me with anyone. Because if anyone heard what he did, any of the things that had happened over that week would demonize him. And I wanted to give our relationship a chance, and I knew that if I told anyone, it would be almost impossible and very difficult, and it would put me and him in a situation that would be uncomfortable and unbearable, So I didn't share what I was going through, and I continued to work. And he left on a Saturday, and I stayed in the house all day on Sunday. I just stayed, but I didn't cry. I slept okay. It was just weird. I wasn't restless, and I was numb, but there was a sadness and an emptiness, but I could not cry. And that was how I functioned that weekend. And when the week started back up, and I had work to do and things to do and emails to attend to, and was making sure that he wasn't getting disturbed on his trip, I just worked. And outside of work, I went to the gym, and I just sat in the sauna and the steam room, and I could barely eat. So I maybe lost in that week about 10 pounds. I drank coffee and didn't have an appetite, and just felt alone and lost. I never felt so lonely in my life and isolated. So that first week and a half was a blur. And we had some pretty important meetings that were on the calendar. And I thought it was interesting, now that I look back, that he had scheduled this trip around some of those really critical meetings and kind of left me on my own to figure it out, which I did. And when I took care of some stuff and had a successful meeting, we had a really, I'm losing my words, but the meeting was a success and it was a challenging one. And then we also had a submittal of a proposal for new business, and I managed that as well. And I just remember the change. The last time I spoke to him was the day that he got there, and he WhatsApped called me, and we talked briefly, and of course I was non-confrontational and behaving as if I was happy that he was out there and kind of enjoying himself, and meanwhile I was dying inside. And that was the last time we talked, and we're talking about a relationship that lasted years and years, where he texted and called me multiple times in the day just to say hi or just to let me know, check in, just to check in. And now there was radio silence. There was nothing. And I knew he was there with someone else and his friends, and I was just trying not to think about it and just trying to figure out how I could stay busy and figuring out what I could do better so that he would feel like he wanted to be in the house. And so we had recently renovated the bathrooms, and I managed that project as I did all of the renovation projects in our home. I did a lot of work. I worked and I spent a lot of time doing things in the house while he was often out, quote unquote, working and being busy. And now I understand that that's the facade. I gotta go. I have things to do, and I'm cooking, I'm going grocery shopping, I'm, managing the contractors, I'm doing all that stuff while also having a full-time job like him, but not realizing that it's shifted. And that's, I guess relationships have those dynamics sometimes, but I didn't realize that he was also getting into other things. But I just remember having some things that needed to be put in storage or reorganized, and I reorganized it, and I called the cleaning lady, and I had her come, and I got some plants, and I don't know what I was thinking. I really don't, but I just felt like if I did something new and got like an orchid and made it prettier and cleaner, that when he got home, he would want to stay there. It sounds desperate and sad, but that was where my mind was, and it was irrational. I mean, this was all deliberate, this idea that something was my fault and I didn't do enough, or I did too much and pressured him, and he needed time, and he needed it. Everything had turned. It was crazy for me. Now I was the one trying to fix things, and I didn't break it. I didn't mess it up. There was nothing. I could have been the perfect partner to him, and he would have still done this to me, and I didn't get that at that point. I was just so concerned with the return and turning a new leaf, and maybe, I staged the apartment. I did all these things that I thought would help change the energy. And each day he didn't call, he didn't text, and I didn't hear from him again until he was back in the country, and he came a day earlier. He flew in, and then he stayed a night in another city that we had stayed in together in the past, and he went to a hotel that we had gone to a couple of times together that we love. And it doesn't matter, but I suspect he brought her there too and kind of made that memory with her and never admitted it. And then let me know when he was back, even though, we had WhatsApp, so we were clearly able to communicate. I had been able to reach out to him throughout the trip for business, but there was never a check-in. How are you? Are you doing okay? I miss you. Nothing. And it was just, I couldn't believe it. It was like, how does that turn off? And again, I didn't know. I knew something was off because of the way he was responding to me right before he left. It was misplaced anger. I was being blamed for stuff, and I was like, this is not normal. This is not normal stuff. And I didn't know what it was, but I did ask him if he disliked women, and just because it was so much, that anger felt genuine, and it felt like he was holding resentment towards me or harboring resentment as he was saying it. And I saw how easily he kind of moved to another relationship while still married to me. And it was almost like he was mad that I caught him. He was mad at me for catching him. And his mood just never came back. Like the guy that I knew, the person that I loved and who had shown me so much kindness and care and, consideration, seemingly, because of course, looking back, there was a lot of neglect and withholding. But in my mind, we had a good relationship, and it was something that was decent. Maybe not ideal, considering we didn't have that intimacy and stuff. And we did work together, and that could kind of fizzle things a little bit and, not be great for a relationship. But that's real life, right? Like, that's just life. And, sometimes life is a little tough and relationships have challenges. So I just looked at it like that. But I never got back that warmth. It was when he turned off completely. And it was like I could have killed myself, the way he left me, I could have really died. And there was so much devastation done to my life. And I was so very isolated because I couldn't share anything with anyone. And that was tough. But yeah, I never heard back from him until he got there, and then to back in the States, and then he started updating me, and then his flight was delayed, and then he got in, and I got my hair done. I had done all these things to try to appear attractive and beautiful, just so maybe he'll want to have sex with me. Maybe he'll want to rekindle. Like, my mind was just somewhere else. And when he landed, he texted me, I'm grabbing dinner. Like, there was no interest in rushing home to me to see me or to invite me to dinner. It just was, I'm doing this. And it sucked. So that's just a little taste of when things really started to get bad. I don't know. It's something I'm still not used to. I'm still trying to reconcile the feelings and understand how someone who's human could treat someone who's also human this way. But that's my share. Thank you for listening. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.